How to tell if God is speaking to you. Have you ever wondered, is that you, God? It's a question many of us ask. We're looking for guidance, for a sign, for that divine whisper in the middle of our noisy lives. How do we know if it's really God speaking and not just our own thoughts or the world's influence? Well, let's dive into what the Bible tells us about hearing God's voice. First and foremost, God speaks through His Word, the Bible. This is the most reliable and direct way He communicates with us. 2 Timothy 3:16 says, "All Scripture is God-breathed and is useful for teaching, rebuking, correcting, and training in righteousness." When you're reading the Bible and a verse seems to leap off the page, speaking directly to your situation, that's God. It's not just ink on paper, it's a living conversation. Are you facing a tough decision? Open the book of Proverbs. Feeling anxious? Turn to the Psalms. God's answers are waiting for you there. Think about the prophet Elijah in 1 Kings chapter 19. He was expecting God to show up in a powerful wind, an earthquake, or a fire, but God wasn't in any of those. Instead, He came in a gentle whisper. This teaches us something powerful. God's voice isn't always a booming command from the heavens. Often, it's a quiet, still thought that enters your mind. It's that nudge to be kind to a stranger, that sudden peace that calms your anxious heart, or that persistent idea that aligns with His character of love and truth. So, how do you test these whispers? The key is to check if they align with Scripture. God will never contradict His own word. If you feel a leading that encourages something the Bible speaks against, like gossip, jealousy, or dishonesty, that's not from God. His voice always leads us toward holiness, peace, and love. As John 10:27 says, "My sheep listen to my voice. I know them, and they follow me." His voice brings clarity, not confusion. It brings freedom, not fear. Another way God speaks is through other believers. Have you ever had a friend or a pastor say something that felt like it was straight from heaven just for you? That's no coincidence. Proverbs 15:22 reminds us that plans fail for lack of counsel, but with many advisors they succeed. When wise, godly people in your life offer advice that confirms what you're sensing and aligns with Scripture, pay attention. God often uses His community, the church, to guide and encourage us. And let's not forget about circumstances. Sometimes God speaks by opening and closing doors in our lives. When you've prayed about something and then a path clears up in a way you couldn't have orchestrated yourself, that can be a sign of God's leading. Think of how God led Joseph. His journey involved betrayal and prison, which looked like closed doors. But ultimately, God used those very circumstances to place him exactly where he needed to be to save many lives. God's plan is often bigger than our immediate view. So, to recap, God speaks primarily through His Word, the Bible. He speaks in a still, small voice that aligns with His character. He speaks through godly counsel from other believers. And He speaks through the circumstances and open doors in your life. Learning to hear God's voice is a lifelong journey, not a one-time event. It requires patience, a humble heart, and a genuine desire to know Him more. Spend time in His Word daily. Practice quiet moments of listening in prayer, and stay connected with a community of faith. The more you seek Him, the more familiar His voice will become. He is speaking. The question is, are we listening? Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope this was encouraging for you. If it was, please give this video a thumbs up and consider subscribing for more content like this. May you hear His voice clearly this week. God bless.